welcome to another edition of Two Steps Ahead podcast, encouraging you to take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. I'm Sonny. I'm coming up on the show. We're going to talk about a topic that is extremely important, probably one of the most important topics that someone could talk about, and that is fatherhood. What is it? How significant or important is it? And what can we do to become better fathers? And really, when it comes down to it, there's some maybe 4 points or broad areas to cover when it comes to fatherhood. 1 is presence, being there. 2 is purpose. 3 is responsibility. And then 4, if you want to go that far, is legacy. What do they remember you as? It's one of those subjects that everyone has an opinion on. It's probably extremely emotional for a lot of people. When you say the word father, you think of perhaps strength, protection, maybe laughter, wisdom, security. But then on the other hand, through experience, others might think of father as absence, disappointment, conflict, abandonment, and they carry those wounds with them from their bad experience with their father. And that's why this is a powerful discussion, because fatherhood is not just about having kids. You can have kids and be a biological father, but then when do you become dad? What do you do after you have kids? It becomes about what a man does with the responsibility, the influence, the opportunity that comes with being a father. Even research supports the importance of positive father engagement. I mean, you could look at a lot of different studies, but a review of these studies and the research has found evidence linking active, regular father involvement with better social, behavioral, psychological, and cognitive outcomes for children. Biological fathers obviously would be the most ideal situation to have that, but even father figures, whether it be a stepdad or an uncle or somebody else that steps up and kind of takes over that role of father. But having somebody, a positive engagement of a father figure, is important if the biological father is not around. Now, you need to keep in mind a key distinction, okay? A man's presence in a child's life does matter, but the quality of that presence matters even more. So you can be involved in your kids' life, but to what extent? What's the quality? A father who lives across town but is constantly calling, listening, encouraging, teaching, and showing up, has a much healthier influence than a father who sleeps under the same roof but is emotionally unavailable, abusive, or maybe even indifferent. So what does it mean to be a father? So what makes a man a father? Is it biology? Providing money? Living under the same house? Providing discipline? Providing protection? Loving them? Or is it something that goes much deeper? Because one of the most important distinguishes is creating a child makes you a biological father, but building a relationship with that child, that is fatherhood. You can have a child without a relationship and you can still be dad, biologically. But that relationship and building that relationship leads to fatherhood. Fatherhood involves responsibility, sacrifice, emotional availability, correction. A lot of times fathers get it wrong, need correction. Encouragement, And it involves showing children how to live by demonstrating it yourself. Kids are going to follow in the footsteps of their father, especially sons. And most importantly, what they see is what they do. Perhaps as a kid, and this might be out-of-date analogy, like an out-of-date analogy, but whenever somebody copied somebody else, you try to get somebody to copy somebody. It was a little childhood game we used to play, I guess. Somebody brought it up, but it was a childhood game. If you could get somebody to copy you, it was like that game, monkey see, monkey do. Well, that's kind of like children. They will see, and then they will do what they see. So the influence of a father and what you do, how you act, how you respond is going to be important because kids will see that, even if you don't know it. So here's something to think about to kind of sum up what I just said. Children don't simply listen to their fathers, they study them. They're watching, they're observing. They watch how dads treat moms, how dads treat strangers, how they respond to anger, how they respond when they lose, how they handle money, how they talk about other people, how fathers keep their promises, whether they work hard or not, whether they admit mistakes that they've made, whether they apologize, and most importantly, whether fathers live according to the principles they claim to believe in. So your children may forget many of the lectures that you have given them over the years, but they're unlikely to forget your example. So are you leading by example? If your children copied the way you currently live, would you be proud of the adults they became? And that gets to the heart of fatherhood. So ask yourself, if your children copied the way you're currently living, would you be proud of the adults they became? If you can answer yes to that question, if you answer no to that question, perhaps then you need to rethink some things. So when it comes to fatherhood, it's more than providing just money. We think that, a father provides, right? A lot of times dads will work, fathers will work long hours, providing the money. We see it in movies, we see it in music, but I've given you everything you've asked for. All I want to do is provide for you. And what's the response? The response is never about things. I don't want all these things. I want you. That's the same with kids. Father, I want you. Obviously, well, maybe not so obviously, but the song Cats in the Cradle talks about a father who's pretty much absent, right? And the dad is gone all the time, and the child is asking, the son is asking him, hey, come play catch with me. Hey, come do this with me. Hey, come do that with me. And dad's like, later, later, later. And then later in life, when the son has grown up and has a family of his own, the father calls and says, hey, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do that. And the son's like, later, I'm busy, later, I'm busy. And basically the son became what the father was, and the father now realizes the mistake that he made. But the son learned by example. The dad was always busy, no time to play catch. The dad was always busy, no time for the son. We'll get together later. We'll get together later. And the lyric actually goes, we'll get together then, sometime in the future. But it never happens. So it's more than providing money. Yes, a father has to provide for his family, and that absolutely does matter. Housing matters, food matters, education matters. So yes, financial responsibility matters. But fathers sometimes make the mistake of believing that I work hard and pay the bills, so I've done my job. Well, it goes beyond that. You haven't finished the job. Children need more than your paycheck. They need you. Sure, they need clothing and food and housing, education, opportunities, stuff like that. And that falls under, I guess, the financial provision of what a father does. And that's important. But that's only one key component. Fathers also need to provide physical protection They need to create a safe environment for their kids. They need emotional security, or to provide emotional security. Your child should know that you, as the father, loves them even when they fail. Or maybe more specifically, the child could say, my father loves me even when I fail. Wisdom, helping children understand consequences and make decisions. Are you providing wisdom for those good consequences, those good decisions? Are you providing encouragement to your kids? Sometimes one sentence from a dad becomes a sentence that a kid remembers 40 years later. One thing that really stands the test of time up until maybe Generation X is a place for everything and everything in its place. Be organized. I don't know if you've heard that or if you're familiar with that, but that was something that we were taught. A place for everything and everything in its place. Be organized. I don't hear that sentence or that statement anymore. And that's not neither here nor there, but that's just an example of something that I remember from years ago. A place for everything, everything in its place. Do I always abide by that? Of course not. But I remember it, and you can try to implement those things. And there's probably others. But one sentence of encouragement. You can do this. I'm proud of you. I believe in you. I've got your back. Those type of things can go a long way. As a father, do you provide discipline? Not humiliation, not intimidation, not uncontrolled anger, but healthy discipline. Because you see, healthy discipline teaches this. Actions have consequences. Standards do matter. And you are capable of doing better. Things that are absent in society today. Your actions do have consequences. Standards do matter. We always talk about raising the standard in your life so that you can bring out your inner greatness, so that then you can take your passion, make it happen, and let yourself be great. We talk about raising the standard all the time. And when standards go south, what do we have to do? Well, we probably have to discipline ourselves, right? Get back to the gym, put in more study time for better grades, do better in the reports that we have to provide for the boss. Whatever it is that we're involved in, when we fail to meet the standards or we fail to raise the standards, we got to work harder. We got to find out what's wrong, and we got to do better, correct that. Same thing with a father to a child. What is it that they are doing wrong? How can we correct that? How can we make it better for them? How do you teach them that that is a bad thing to do? Actions have consequences. And you think about consequences, we're talking about discipline right now. So yes, actions have consequences, but actions could also have good consequences if those actions are positive. There's both sides to that coin. But talking about discipline, yes, actions have consequences. Standards do matter. We live by a certain standard. This is the standard we're going to live by. When we fall short of that standard, we need to do something to bump you up. And you are doing better. Good for you. I'm glad that this course of action that we took is making you be a better person. You're capable of more and you're doing more, getting more out of you. Sometimes a coach has to bench a player to get more out of them because they're capable of doing more. Sometimes a coach has to discipline a player or the whole team, try to get them to do more because they're being lazy. They're not showing up on time. They're not disciplined enough. It's the same thing with children. A little different perspective, but it's the same concept. We want them to be better because we know they're capable of doing more. Another thing that fathers need to do is just be present. Are you attending games? Are you listening to the stories, even when the stories don't make sense or you don't understand them? Are you driving them somewhere? Are you eating dinner together? Probably one of the biggest things that perhaps society lacks today is the dinner table. on the phones, maybe sitting in front of the TV. Maybe the dad's not there because he's working too much. But eating together, helping with homework, calling your adult children because you're thinking about them. Now, here's something, a little bit of a side note to parenting, to fatherhood, that I personally believe. There's 3 stages, like general stages. When they're infant to 18 or thereabouts, you are a father in a traditional sense. You are there to do the things that we're talking about, provide emotional security, provide wisdom, encouragement, discipline, be present, mold them into the adults they're going to be. And that's what we do. Then, when we reach 18, oftentimes, what do? We kick them out into the world to be on their own because they're adults. And now they have to go make their own decisions. But here's step 2. It's almost as if we start over back to the not infant stage of life, but the infant stage of adulthood. What do I mean by that? Well, when we send kids off into the world, there's things that they have to try to learn and maneuver that they did not have to think of when they were children because their parents took care of them. Now there's things like being responsible, whether it's paying rent on time, whether you move away to school and having to maneuver relationship situations or just adult decisions. Maybe they moved away to school, they don't have a vehicle. How do you set up something like Uber? How do you manage safety? How do you manage dealing with a professor? You can no longer go and talk to the teacher. You now have to try to coach and develop your child to handle adult relationships that you no longer are allowed to be a part of by law, for example. FERPA laws. You can't go talk to a teacher without consent and waivers from your child. And maybe they're out of state. How do you maneuver those relationships? What about talking to a dean about a situation or a boss? You can't go and talk to the boss on behalf of your kid. They have to learn those things. They move out. What about managing a household, paying rent, managing a budget, trying to figure out why or why not whatever cable or internet system works or doesn't work? What do they do when the lights go out? What do they do when there's car problems? And maybe they live in another state. See, there's a lot of things that adults, when we become 18, 19, we move into the adult world, we have to figure out. And if you had good parents, they were there to help you. If you had bad parents, you figured it out on your own. But there's still an infancy of adulthood that kicks in at that age. And so as a parent, as a father, you need to be there to help them. The old help you change a tire, learn to change a tire mentality. Teach them how to be an adult, because age doesn't make them an adult. Just like biology doesn't make you a father. Sure, biologically you're a dad, but you're not father into fatherhood. Just like 18 doesn't make you an adult in adulthood. It just makes you adult by legality. They need to be trained and taught. And that's step 2. And then the third step becomes when they're adults and they have families. How do you guide them through them being parents? And there's 3 different stages. And so stage 1, they're in your care and you have to take care of them. Stage 2 is from 18 or whenever they become the adult to the time they have their own family. And then when they have their family, there's 3 different stages. And as a father, being involved in all those stages is important. The extent and level of involvement may vary. I know a lot of times when a daughter has a child for the first time, their own child, they're clinging probably to their mom, if they had a good mom, for advice, for counsel, for all different kinds of things. Asking questions. What does this mean? What does that mean? Same thing with dads. You got to be there to help them along the way. And especially if they have a son, if you have a son, and they have a son, your grandson, help them and mentor them so that they can become a good father. And then now we are repeating the process. Now we have raised the standard of fatherhood because I did my job, although not perfectly. I did the best of my abilities to do these things that we're talking about. And then from there, I instilled those in my son, mentoring him. He instills them in his son. And now we're building generations of good fathers. But even so again, calling your adult children, just because they are adults doesn't mean that you no longer are involved in their life. Call them. If you want some expert opinion on this, I guess the CDC and their guidelines for fathers of teenagers specifically, okay? So now we're dealing with that teen life. Emphasize knowing what's happening in your children's lives, spending time together, listening, talking regularly, establishing expectations, modeling healthy behavior, and building emotional closeness is important. And that's just CDC. Now, I put that in there so you can have an example of an entity where people look to as authorities on these type of things. Maybe not the ultimate authority, but I guess people respect the CDC and some of the things they say, just as if it was the Journal of Medicine or perhaps other entities. But even them, talking about how, and you can remove the word teenager, how emphasizing knowing what's happening in your kids' lives, spending time with them, listening, talking regularly, establishing those expectations, modeling healthy behavior, and building emotional closeness. Maybe you see videos on social media, the dog I thought I was getting, it's some ferocious, fearless dog that's out there doing these great tricks compared to the dog I got, and it's like some lazy thing on the couch, maybe, in some awkward position or being chased around the room by the Roomba or something, okay? That's what life is like a lot. The life we think we're going to get, or the life we think is going to be with a baby, with a son, versus what life really is. The life I thought I was going to have with kids, and you see those videos too. What I thought I was getting in a daughter, and there's pictures and images of a princess, to what I really got, and she's romping around in the mud. So life isn't always as we expect it to be. So as a father, you are there in all stages of life to be able to help out, to be able to assist, to be able to come in and provide guidance. And if you build that healthy relationship when they are young by providing emotional security, by giving them wisdom, encouragement, discipline, being there for them, providing good standards, and so on, then it's going to be easier as you get older and the relationship changes more into an adult relationship. Because you see, children are very basic. They just want your attention. That's all they want. Sure, some of the other things, Christmas morning and stuff like that, is important. If you can provide gifts and birthday presents and stuff like that, of course they like that. Of course they want you there more importantly than the thing you get them, because they want your time. That's what they want. They want your time. So ask yourself this, like we've talked about before. Again, if your children copied the way you currently live, would you be proud of the adults they became? And then that becomes important because that will be a reflection on the job you did as a father. This may come up again a little bit later, but when we talk about your attention, father's attention, kids want their father's attention. Think about all those times that a kid's out in the backyard, the beach, the park, whatever, saying, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing. Look at me, look at me, look what I'm doing. Watch this, watch me do this. All they want is your attention, your time, your presence. So again, another analogy of time, your time spending with them is probably the most important thing next to discipline and making sure that they are becoming the capable people that they are meant to be. So what do children need from their fathers? And here it starts off. 7 quick things that children need from their father. See me. Kids want their attention. Watch me. Look at this. Not just the accomplishments specifically, but maybe their progress. They're riding a bike. They had the training wheels. Now there's no training wheels. Dad, look at me. Look at me. And there you go. The accomplishment. So you don't want to, as a father, you don't want to be just excited about the outcome, but about the progress. So instead of just being excited when a kid scores a touchdown or earns a high marks on school grades, and be like, hey, I'm proud of you for those accomplishments. But what about finding out more about what they're interested in? What worries them? What excites them? How are things with their friends? What they dream about? Know more about them. See them for who they are beyond their accomplishments. Hear them. See me. Hear me. Step 2. Sometimes fathers, we like to become problem solvers, right? Yeah, I'm going to solve the problem. A friend might say, or a child might say, I'm having trouble with a friend. Well, here's what you need to do. Well, perhaps instead in that moment, it's tell me what happened. Because all they want is for you to hear them in that moment. Listen before fixing. Experts advise fathers not to overreact when teens disclose personal information, and to communicate that their opinions are valued even when the father and the son or child disagree. So there could be times, I know a lot of times fashion, tattoos, who you're dating, things like that could be a disagreement between a father and a son, father and a daughter, parent and a child. And sometimes we just have to listen and talk and not just lay down the law. Maybe go back to standards matter. Hear them, listen to what they have to say, validate that, and then talk about the standards. So children actually needing from their fathers, see me, hear me, accept me. Now, it doesn't mean approving every decision. It means our disagreements will not make me stop loving you. You can have disagreements on things, but that's not going to make you stop loving them, and they need to know that. Teach me. See me, hear me, accept me. Teach me. Children need instruction, responsibility, instruction about relationships, work, money, faith, integrity, boundaries, sexuality, failure, perseverance, decision-making. Who are you going to leave that up to if not you? TikTok influencers? YouTube? Celebrities? Friends? Algorithms? Culture? Are you going to make them responsible for educating your child about life? This is what happens today. A lot of people today are being influenced by what they see on social media. And a lot of on social media, what we see is false, fake, lies, misrepresentations, whether purposeful or unintentional. I mean, just the mere fact that a lot of women on there use filters to make themselves look better. Now, technically speaking, that could be seen as deception. Now, I know appearances are everything, so they do it to make themselves look better, and their intent isn't to deceive. They're not catfishing people. Maybe they are, but not intent. But yes, what we see on there is absolutely fake a lot of the times. So you teach them as a father. Teach them about responsibility. Teach them about relationships, about work ethic, how to handle money, faith, have integrity. Do what you say what you do, have boundaries. It's the sexuality. That's the biggest part that I think society teaches young kids about. I mean, we see it all the time. We have debates, right? about LGBT, transgender ideology, about giving hormones and surgeries and things to young kids because apparently the kid feels that way? Well, it's time for fathers to step up. It's time for fathers to say no more. Not with my child. You might not have any say over that child, but not my child. Time to take a stand. Teach them about overcoming failure and how they can get better because of it and make good decisions. Correct me is another one kids want from their parents, from their fathers especially. Children need boundaries. Love without boundaries can become permissiveness. Boundaries without love becomes authoritarian. So you're going to combine as a healthy father and having healthy fatherhood skills, you're going to combine love with truth, with consequences, and with grace. You're going to love them. You're going to give them the truth in love. You're going to remind them that the consequences of the behavior is done in love. And you're going to provide grace in love. And so if you combine those things, then you do have a healthy fatherhood going on. Kids want to protect me. Physical protection, emotional protection. Fathers should help children recognize how people manipulate them. Manipulation. Dangerous relationships. Protect them about peer pressure, drugs, abuse, financial exploitation, online dangers. Fathers need to be protecting and then also teaching their kids how to protect themselves also from these things because we can't always be there when they're on their phone. But kids want to be protected. They want to feel protected. And part of that protection comes from the physical component, keeping them safe, knowing that you are going to protect them from the boogeyman, from the bad man under the bed or the monster under the bed or that thing in the closet, right? And then it becomes less fantasized boogeyman to the real boogeyman, the real bad guys out there. They want protection. Fathers give it to them, but then train them and teach them and have them raise their standards so they can get beyond that. And then finally, believe in me. So kids want from their fathers, see me, hear me, accept me, teach me, correct me, protect me, and believe in me. And believe in me is probably the biggest one. I see something in you you do not see yourself yet. I know you can do it. I believe in you. Go do it. And you as the father become the voice of that belief. Maybe they don't believe in themselves. You're teaching, again, someone to ride a bike. I can't do this. Ride a skateboard. I can't do this. Or hit a ball. Make a basket. Whatever it is. I can't do this. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Eventually they do it. I can't swim. I can't jump off the diving board. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I'm right here to catch you. I'm right here to catch you. I believe in you. And then once they do it, they're going to do it over and over and over again. But it's because you had the belief in them. You saw something in them that they did not see in themselves. And you believed that they were capable of becoming something better than what they were. You raised the standard in their lives. You can jump off that diving board. I see you can do that. You are capable of doing that. I see you can ride that bike. I see you can hit that ball. I believe you can do it. You're capable of doing it. Let's practice. Let's practice your stance, practice your stroke, practice whatever it is, and then ultimately they do that. Now we take that into the adulthood. I believe you could be a good father. I believe you could be a good student. I believe you could be a good employee. Same standard. Same practice, different area of application, but it's fatherhood from start to finish. So how can we become better fathers? Probably one of the biggest questions we have to ask ourselves. Maybe you think you're a good dad already, and good. Hopefully you are. But the first thing is just be present. Not nearby, present. Be there. There is a big difference between physical presence and emotional presence. You can be there physically in the room, but are you there emotionally? Are you listening? Are you reacting? Are you learning? Are you understanding? So we got to put that phone down, turn off that TV, or at least put it on pause. Look them in the eye. Let them know, yes, you matter more than whatever's on my phone. You matter more than what's on the TV. And that's hard to do. Even sometimes we think, we can multitask pretty good, right? I got to do this real quick on my phone, send out this message, this email, but I'm listening to you. And you think you can do that, and you probably can. But how does that perception to your child appear? That maybe they're less important than what you're doing? Put the phone down. Be present, physically and emotionally. Ask questions, and then listen. Listen first, speak later. So, be present, not just nearby. Step 1, to become a better father. Step 2, learn your child's world. Yeah. What music do they like? You may or may not like it. Who are their friends? Find out what their friends are doing. Friends become one of the biggest influencers in their life. Know who their friends are from all stages of life. What stresses them? Find out what stresses them. What worries them? What are they watching? What dreams do they have? What scares them? What do they think about you as a father? But if you find out what dreams they have, perhaps you can help them achieve that dream, or at least show them a path how to get there. What scares them? Maybe you find that out and you can help ease those fears, calm those fears. Fear of failure is one of the biggest things that we find out in life. I teach college classes. There's times I've had students write essays about what's their biggest fear. 99% of them, fear of failure. They don't want to fail. Whatever that failure might be, their fear of failure. So learn what scares them. If it's a fear of failure, show them a path to succeed. Experts encourage fathers to know their teenagers' activities and friends and to spend time understanding their world. Part of the reason why there is that separation with teenagers and fathers is because we don't know what their world is. We don't know what it's like. We don't know what they're going through. We don't know what they're listening to, what they're watching. And it might be something that's just kind of ultimately ridiculous. For example, maybe in the teenage world, I don't know, Stranger Things, Netflix. I think I saw the first season, perhaps. It just reminded me of Poltergeist, the movie. Just a different version of Poltergeist set over a long period of time. So I stopped watching it, but it became a huge phenomenon. A lot of people watched it. Are you aware of it? Maybe you don't like it, but maybe you learn a little bit about it and have a conversation. Hey, what happened in the last episode? And then they ramble on for 30 minutes telling you all the ridiculousness of the show. Now you just had time with them. So learn what their interests are. Tell them you love them. Straight out. I love you. I'm glad you're my child, my son, my daughter. Because men will say, oh, they know me. They know me. Well, tell them anyways. Children shouldn't have to interpret love exclusively through financial support or whatever it is that you're doing. Tell them. Words. I know they say, what is it? Pictures equal 1,000 words or something like that. But words are louder. Actions, they say, speak louder than words, but words are more direct. You can shower them with presents, and that might demonstrate you love them. Or perhaps if you're in the dating world and you shower your loved one Valentine's Day with gifts, flowers, chocolates, dinners, whatever it is people do these days. Netflix and chill. That's great. You've shown that, right? But you have to tell them, I love you. Same with kids. Tell them. Praise their character, not just their achievements. I think I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but instead of saying, hey, you scored 25 points. That's great. And that is great. Hey, I like the way you helped out a teammate. You encouraged your teammate. Good job. I noticed that you told the truth. Or you worked really hard on that paper. Recognize the accomplishment, but also recognize other things and the path and the effort and the hard work that they put in to get there. Hey, you scored 25 points. Your extra practice after practice, shoot-arounds, is working. I see that you handled disappointment well. You handled that loss well. You didn't become a sore loser. Now you're developing character rather than simply performance. Talking about the sports world real quick, you think about what's going on in the WNBA and that train wreck that trash league is. Do you want your daughter to look at those people as the role model and to learn how to be an athlete, learn how to be a good sport, learn to develop character through watching them? Or are you going to be the one to demonstrate exactly what it means to be a good athlete, what it means to have character, what it means to be a good teammate, practice hard, carry yourself well, respond to obstacles and difficulties in a proper way? Fathers should be the ones that do that. Praise their character, not only their achievement. Keep promises is another one. Trust is built in small moments. If you, as a dad, repeatedly say, I'll be there, I'll call, we'll do it Saturday, and you don't follow through, then the child learns that the dad's words don't mean that much. Kind of like Cats in the Cradle song. If you don't know about it, look up Cats in the Cradle. Just type it into your internet search bar. Type it into your video hosting channels, YouTube, whatever, and it'll pop up, and you'll see. Another one, Faster Pussycat, House of Pain. Another song about an absent father that strikes a big message. Check that one out, and you can kind of see how these musicians are writing from a place of pain because their dad was gone, or their dad just kind of blew them off. But keep promises. I'll be there. Be there. I'll call. We'll do it Saturday. Do it Saturday. Because if you don't follow through, your kid's going to learn that dad's words don't mean much. And don't just casually promise either. If you can't be there, be honest. You know, I'd love to be there, but I really just can't. I've got a business trip. I'm going to be out of town. I've got this going on. So be honest with them. I can't be there, but you know what? I'm still rooting for you. We will do it another time when I'm available. Or maybe I can't be there, but call me after the game, or call me after the event is over. Or nowadays with technology, you know what? I can't be there, but mom will have FaceTime up and I'll try to take a listen, try to take a watch. In some way, I'll be there. But again, if you can't, let them know. Be honest with them. To be a better father, control your anger. Children should respect you, not fear you. They shouldn't be terrified of you. Anger that comes from intimidation, screaming, threats, humiliation, violence, that doesn't create respect. It creates fear. And then eventually fear becomes anger. And then anger becomes revenge when that person, that son of yours, that daughter of yours gets old enough, especially that son of yours gets old enough to strike back. So control your anger. Apologize. This is probably one of the most underrated fatherhood skills. Say, you know what, I was wrong. You don't have to say, or you shouldn't say, I'm sorry you felt that way, and put it back on them. I was wrong. I shouldn't have yelled at you. I broke my promise. I wasn't there on Saturday. I embarrassed you. I wasn't listening. And then ask, will you forgive me? Because apologizing does not weaken parental authority. It demonstrates integrity. And we talked earlier a little bit about what we should teach. Teach me. Integrity is a part of that. Let your child fail. We live in a society where everybody gets a trophy. We don't keep score. Now we're not giving out grades. Now we're hiding grades. Now freshmen don't get grades. I mean, it's ridiculous, this world that we live in, how much we try to protect people over the littlest and dumbest things. Your kid got an F. He got an F. Study harder. Your kid didn't get straight A's. He's not on the honor roll. Big deal. Is he doing his best? Is he trying his hardest? But no. Everybody has to be successful. We have to lower the standard in society in order to make everybody equal. Let your child fail. You don't have to remove every obstacle, but you can stand there right next to them and say, I will help you get back up. I will help you overcome this. I'll help you learn how to next time avoid this. There will be other obstacles that come your way. There will be other times you fail, but we'll ride this journey together. And sometimes I'm going to let you fail. Other times you might want to step in. Just depends. You got to play it by ear, not a one-size-fits-all thing. But it's okay because failure teaches responsibility, resilience, problem solving, humility, and perseverance. Well, you lost the game. You went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. Well, maybe we should go to the batting cages more, or go to the park and practice our hitting more, or get a tee and a net in the backyard. Well, your grades went down. You were out on a Friday night, Saturday night. You knew a big test was coming next week, and you went to hang out with your friends, and you failed. Well, you know what? Now you need to study more. I noticed that your gas, I had to move your car so that I could put the trash cans out, whatever. I noticed you're low on gas. You should fill up. Instead of taking it to the gas station, filling up yourself, hey, you need to fill up your car. Well, they don't. They run out of gas. But they don't do that ever again. Lesson learned. So again, sometimes we have to let them fail because we learn more from losing, or we learn more from failures because it can teach us things. Responsibility, resilience, problem solving, humility, and perseverance. We can discipline with dignity to become better fathers. Correct behavior without attacking the identity. Don't say you're stupid, you're worthless, you're lazy. The beginning of that Twisted Sister song, we're not going to take it. You're worthless, you're weak. What you going to do with your life? No. Well, you know what? That was irresponsible. Now we're going to deal with it. You know better. Now there's consequences. Because we talked about earlier, consequences. Actions have consequences. But now we're going to correct those actions because we're going to raise the standard in the child. Because we know they're capable of more than what they just did. You're capable more of cheating, capable more of than just cheating on a test. You're capable of more than just getting into trouble. So we're going to separate what the child did from who the child is. We're going to correct that behavior so that we can raise the standard in our child's lives so that they can become who we know they're capable of, so they can bring out their inner greatness. Take their passion, make it happen, and let themselves be great. We're going to love their mother. To become better fathers, love their mother, even if you're no longer in that relationship. If divorced or separated, don't use the child as a weapon. Don't interrogate them about the household. Don't bring them into your conflict. Don't force them to choose a side. You don't have to trash mom in front of them. And just because your relationship with their mom is ended in a romantic way, so to speak, you still have that parental relationship. And so you need to build that parental relationship. Again, you don't need to reconcile and get back together, but you should have a quality co-parenting relationship for the betterment of the child. And that might require restraint, controlling anger, all that stuff, disciplining yourself with dignity, all the things we're talking about. And then finally, take care of yourself. It doesn't require perfection. Fatherhood does not require perfection, but it does require physical, emotional, spiritual, relational, and financial health influences in the household. A father who constantly neglects himself may eventually have less to give everyone else. So you got to take care of yourself. Take care of yourself so you can be there for them. That's something that, we should all be thinking about in general. We all have, whether it's our own parents, maybe they're getting older, we need to take care of them. Maybe there's siblings, maybe there's friends, maybe there's significant others, maybe there's kids, other family members, people depend upon you, your boss, your employees, whatever. There's people that are going to depend on you. And so we should take care of ourselves so that we have more to give them longer. We have more to give them, and we can give that to them longer than if we don't take care of ourselves. And then finally, we can give our children memories, not just possessions, but memories. 20 years from now, your kids may not remember that Christmas present, but they remember fishing with dad, or going on a road trip, or the Saturday morning pancakes, or just throwing a football in the backyard, working on a car, going to church, to a ball game, maybe watching movies, maybe your father coming to every game, or maybe your dad coaching your teams. Because children, and maybe adults could consider this as well, but children can spell love, T-I-M-E, time. They want your time. Time equals love. So maybe as an adult, when you think about that, you think about love. Maybe love and time go together, hand in hand. Like peanut butter and jelly, like chocolate and vanilla, hand in hand, time and love, because that's what they want. And that's what you can give them. Now, what if there's some father wounds, like maybe you didn't have a good relationship with your father. Maybe he left. Maybe he was an alcoholic. Maybe he was abusive. Maybe he constantly criticized. And maybe you tell yourself, I'm not going to be my father. I'm going to be someone different. Well, that would be great. You can. But don't live that relationship in your children. Don't live that relationship and rehash that in your life with your kids. Because you have to ask yourself, are you parenting your children, or are you still reacting to the way your father parented you? So parent your child, and don't react to your father parenting you. How can we connect or reconnect with an estranged child? Let's say we're estranged. Estrangement doesn't always mean that this is the final chapter, but repairing the relationship requires more than just saying they need to get over it. So something happened, now you're estranged. Here's some quick things that you can do. Stop defending yourself. Stop defending yourself long enough to listen to what they have to say. Instead of saying, well, that's just never happened, you're exaggerating. Instead, help me understand what you experienced. Listen. And then maybe you listen to what they have to say, and you can start to figure out what went wrong and rebuild on that. Ask yourself uncomfortable questions. What part of this estrangement belongs to me? When you stop asking who's at fault and you start asking what can I take responsibility for, things are going to change. Maybe there's broken promises, maybe favoring one sibling over another, maybe becoming too controlling, whatever it might be. What can I take responsibility for? Step 3, apologize without the word but. I'm sorry, but you were difficult too. No. I understand that I hurt you. I should have handled it differently. I'm sorry. Step 4, don't demand immediate forgiveness. Give them time. You might have changed. They might not recognize that yet. Give them time. Trust is lost. Trust needs to be built up. Respect boundaries. If they say don't call every day, then don't call every day. Okay? Reconnection is not, you must have the relationship with me that I want. Reconnection is, I'm willing to build the healthiest relationship you're currently willing to build with me. Whatever they're comfortable with, build that relationship. And you'll begin to reconnect with that child. Demonstrate change rather than just announce it. Hey, I've changed. Well, actions speak louder than words. Maybe you want to consider counseling. Maybe that's another way to demonstrate change. Go talk to somebody. Understand what's happening. Understand your patterns to what happens. Work on communication skills, coping skills. Talk to someone. Maybe keep an open door without becoming manipulative. Avoid, after everything I've done for you, you'll regret this when I'm dead. God says you have to honor your father and mother. Instead, say, I love you. I respect your decision. I'm working on myself. And if you're ever ready to talk, my door is open. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that if there is some abuse, some safety issues, things like that, reconciliation should never be presented as an absolute obligation when there's been violence, abuse, stalking, serious manipulation, or danger. Forgiveness, reconciliation, trust, and restored access are not identical concepts. You can have forgiveness and not want to reconcile. You can build trust and still not want to be around the person. You can restore minimal access. So just remember that. Reconciliation does not have to be there with forgiveness and other things. There's many people that have done wrong that I've forgiven them in my own life, but I don't want to reconcile with them. I don't want to be around them anymore. It's like, why would I want to do that? Why would I subject myself to that again? And that could come down to trust. Finally, let's take a quick look at Christian fatherhood. So I like to bring the biblical principles in. Bible presents fatherhood not primarily as power, but as stewardship. The children belong to God. We've been entrusted with this responsibility of raising them. So the Bible tells us in Ephesians 6, we need to provide discipline, but not provoke them to anger. So discipline plus instruction without unnecessary provocation. Biblical authority is not permission to become authoritarian. Matches kind of what we've been talking about, doesn't it? In Deuteronomy 6, parents are to instruct and to teach God's commands throughout everyday life. Whether you're sitting at home, walking along the road, going to bed, maybe bedtime prayers, getting up. It's not just a 1 hour on Sunday type of activity. So as you spend time with them, teach them biblical principles as well. Ask yourself, does my child only hear me talk about God, or do they watch me walk my walk with God? In Psalms 103, compares God's compassion towards his people to a father's compassion towards his child. Compassion. Strength and compassion, they're not opposites, but they work together. Have compassion on your kids. Colossians 3:21, fathers are warned against embittering or provoking their children so they do not become discouraged. That's enormous. You can either build up or you can tear down. You can either encourage or discourage. So be one that encourages. Of course, we're reminded of the prodigal son. He leaves, squanders all his wealth, ends up in a very bad situation, wants to come home, be with his father, and work as a servant, but the father embraces him, forgives him, brings him back. Your child should know that failure doesn't mean they can never come home. They should be able to come home. And then finally, pray for your children. This should be a major Christian challenge to dads. Pray for them. Pray for their friendships, their spouses, their character. Pray against their temptations. Pray for good health, their faith, their career, emotional struggles, protection, purpose. Instead of only praying, God, change my child, occasionally pray, God, change me into the father this child needs. God, change me into the father this child needs, because that child needs you. This is Two Steps Ahead Podcast, encouraging you to take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. Our website, radiowarp.com, radio, W-A-R-P. Click on the show logo and our past shows pop up. We're on social media. You can pretty much listen anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're on YouTube and Rumble as well. And our email address is twostepsaheadpodcast@gmail.com. twostepsaheadpodcast@gmail.com. It's up to you to be a good father, and hopefully this helps a little bit get you to where you want to be. Two Steps Ahead Podcast, encouraging you, take your passion, make it happen, let yourself be great. I'm Son Edom. Hey, thanks for listening. Do tell a friend, and until next time, God bless.